We are now continuing with our second invited speaker, calling to the stage Dr. Michael Popall, Director of the Fraunhofer Institutes for Silicate Research, with several awards for the advances in research and innovative approaches of non-metallic materials in the fields of energy, health, and environment.
Are you ready? We managed all the technique. Thanks a lot to be here. Thanks a lot for the invitation, Rodrigo. And of course, happy 40 years. When you found, you found this institute 40 years ago, I start to study chemistry. And so I'm now also, of course, 30 years at Fraunhofer. So from this point, there's a lot of anniversaries, and it's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to cooperate since a few years in several projects, and of course now to have you in hydro materials. And for the next 14 years, we can do a lot. So today, I'd like to introduce you in research. Joe presented a lot in which way research or innovation can come. And also he presented what you need for innovation. You cannot plan innovation, that's clear. It comes from a lot of different sources. And on the other hand, you need a lot of money. You need people which like to take the risk, you need the public, you need authorities, whatever. This means that, for example, Rodrigo or Joe or me, mostly somewhere in the plane, to catch somewhere the money to convince politicians or to convince heads of industries to promote, to get step by step forward. And what I've seen here also today or last year, what you have established in here within the institute, on the one hand the chemistry for the students to learn, and on the other hand the technology to establish, to bring them to the real needs, to updated technological needs according to specifications, measurements, and so on. It's very, very important. Without this and without creative and motivated students, you can do nothing. You can sit on the money, but you need someone to do it. And you have here the perfect situation that you have a lot of motivated people. We have seen it. It's wonderful to be here. I like to give you a little bit our history, 30 years where I was in front of ISC, in which way we managed to get products. I will not go in the chemistry into detail because we have a very mixed audience of politicians, of administration, chemists, physics. So I hope I will have a good mixture for you. Some short words about Fraunhofer. We are the largest research institution for applied research in Europe. We have a turnover of the 2.1 billion. Mostly we must do applied research with industry. We have some money to invest for a lot of infrastructure, and we get some money contribution, around 30% from German government, but the rest is mostly coming from industry. So all overall, it's 2 billion, 2.1 billion. It's like a big company. Of course, here we focus on Fraunhofer. He was a mixture of an entrepreneur, of a researcher, a scientist, and he has certain innovations within the field of glass and other things. So he's, for us, the symbol how to go, how it will work. Of course, we still here present in Fraunhofer as Fraunhofer Portugal, and in Porto we have some center for assistive information and communication solutions. And we spread. Nowadays, the very important point is you are not alone, only with partners all over the world, joining teams, joining students, you have really your success. You will not have the inventors like 40, 50, or 100 years ago. Nowadays, everything works within teams, having good students, PhDs. What we are doing is we are in between the university, the institutes for fundamental research all over the world, and the industry. And we just try to shift according to the TRL, the technological readiness level, the research from the institutes to a higher level, so together with the industry, we go to the more or less TRL 7, even 9, finally to the production. We are in the field of health, mobility, communication, information, energy, resource safety, security, production service, and our institute is mostly in health, communication, information, and energy and resources, and we are a materials research institute. What's important for the focused applied research? It depends, as I say, on excellent research teams and the funding. The funding depends on the markets and the politics, and there will result interested industry, and of course all public programs. And finally, you have the applied research to get focused by available funding and cross-innovation. If you bring teams together, then by accident or a little bit also planned, you will get really innovation. And we'll try to navigate or swimming in the rough funding sea of, to keep your institute. In my talk, I like to show you now 4 pathways over the years. The one is on the particles, the one is on the bulk and the coatings, on the protection for the electronics and the hybrids going into the energy or ending up in the batteries. What you could see, it starts with simple nanoparticles, it gets more diversified, then of course we could functionalize to get the magnetic nanoparticles for water treatment, and finally we end up in diagnostics with our bed system, what I will show later. Over the years, and as also Jean told, from the step of the first innovation or first research up to a product in the market, it takes 10, 15, 20 years or even more. But on the other hand, for example here, coming from the bike and the coatings, getting to the dental fillers, I have them in my mouth since 1999, I still survive. And of course, we go further to the dental implants, but then of course, there was 2 groups which join each other, and they realized that these materials are excellent for optical matrix materials. And then immediately we could jump there in this business, and now from the dental and coating technique, we established a composite for the femtolaser technology. And even we developed the femtolaser technology for multi-photon processors by ourselves, ending up in 3D display technology and photonics. That's also the way, from a project with Popall for protection of electronics, we finally ended in ultra barrier foil or in roll-to-roll electrochromic cells on polymer foil. Finally ending in lighting, the same as in here, finally printed electronics, it's a big theme here in-house. So, but of course we heard about raw materials. Nowadays, research all the time, you have to have in mind sustainability. This means we have limited resources. We have to use the secondary resources, and we have to find a compromise for future technologies. This means in some areas we have to downgrade also the technology, because for a lot you do not need this highest tech. You can live the other much cheaper, much better for the environment. So just the world of the nanoparticles, it starts with the luminescent nanoparticles going to the magnetic, the mesoporous, the core shell structured particles, then of course surface modified particles, then of course biofunctionalization, and then the multifunctional ones. And I give you 2 examples. Of course, we can upscale them. We have big European projects running, as like Copilot, others, to go in the large volume. And of course, some application, water purification. You have small nanoparticles with the core of the iron oxide surrounded by silicon oxide, and the functional shell, you can choose whatever you like. Of course, if it's a function which catch, for example, heavy metals or a function which catch biomedicine out of them, also in general medical molecules out of the water. You just can touch, and then when you apply this type of particles, which as a nanoparticle are non-magnetic, they show magnetic behavior in an electromagnetic field. Then you easily concentrate them. You have all the bad things, dirt or chemical, whatever it is, out of the water. In another basin, you clean them, recycle them, and so you have a whole loop. One simple possibility to use nanoparticle work. The other is in the life science. You can just use nanoparticles as tracers. You can implement in them certain rare earths, or you can avoid just having, for example, as a coating with a manganese oxide, a manganese-coated, doped zinc silicate shell. So you can also get luminization and luminescence. By the way, you can follow with such type of functionalist nanoparticles the world in the micro and the nano, and especially life science. And so just you can use such kind for detection of DNA, to detection of diseases, whatever it is. Just you place them now just in front of a simple light diode, a biosensor we can name. And then of course here it's a concentration area where then now, for example, the tumor markers coming, they hop and settle down in that area. So you do not need very complicated processes to get a higher concentration. You easily have a concentrated area because of this functional particles in front of the biosensor. You can make an easy detection. That's it. Let's move further to the hybrids. Hybrids, you mix something together, then you have a hybrid, of course. What we are doing is we are mostly focusing of having on the one hand functionalized nanoparticles to cross-link them if they have a reactive function, or we simply start with alkoxysilanes by sol gel processing or polycondensation processing to build up first small inorganic units, and in the second step by UV or thermal treatment or plasma or whatever, we can cross-link them, and then we end up with nanoscaled hybrids. When I started 30 years ago at the Institute, I really looked to nature because I was inspired by, for example, these diatoms. And the diatom, it has an inorganic shell. And why the biomolecules survive in the harsh environment they have to live? Because they settle down and make a company with this inorganic shell. They build it first up, of course, and so they are stable enough to survive up to the day. So it's a hybrid. By the inorganic structure, the bioorganic was protected. Or if you look to the Mayas, 1,200 years ago, they make painting with indigo, with a blue indigo. You know the blue indigo, without any, it's just vanishing after a few days in UV sunlight. But by accident, they mix it with a clay mineral, and again we have the effect, you join inorganics and organics, you get a hybrid, and this organic material gets stabilized for 1,200 years. So why not using these hybrids? Of course it established over the years to even big conferences, or in general the hybrids are so in between, one can say between the elastic polymers, with our natural stuff, or the metals and the ceramics. And depending on the functionalization, you can play with the material properties in a perfect way if you have an inorganic organic one, because you have then all type of the organic chemistry, you have all type of inorganic chemistry to play with. You can introduce fillers for the strengthening, you can make a porous forming structure, you're increasing the flexibility. And this, of course, this is a need to adapt material properties to the specifications of best processing. Because it's not the way that if you have, for example, a new material with a little bit better dielectric properties or higher transparency, whatever, that this is immediately a product in applied research. No. The most is that you can process them easily with affordable costs, and you're competitive on the market. Just as an example, still 15 years, no, more than 15 years ago, for the Pentium processing, we have developed the dielectric. There we get 128 specifications. One of them was a dielectric. All the others have been according to the use, to the application, the processing. So it's a big misunderstanding if you like to have something tuned better, that this is a new product. It's a very small first step. Of course, the hybrids which we are developing for the not chemists among you, it's not mixing organic polymers with inorganic glasses or whatever, or particles, no, because this will be not a reproducible chemical cross-linking. No, we really have small inorganic units which we have organic functions, which we then cross-link with this organic function to build up an inorganic hybrid matrix. Or like here, it's in between. For the chemists, it's a salt gel processing by polycondensation step by step. For the engineers, it's just in between the silicones, the organic polymers, and the ceramics and glass. Depending on functionality, we get all these nice properties. Long time ago on market, for example, as an anti-static and scratch resistant, shown in here, or an antibacterial coating for a lot of applications, you're still in use, or by hydrophobation of the surfaces. It's a tricky method. You need only 3% to introduce into such a material. They're swimming on the surface. Very complex chemistry behind. It works very well. And of course, then you have applications like here, like anti-soiling, or if you have some new basins in your bus, it could have our coating. It's on the market. Very simple thing. The problem here are the housewomen, because they like to clean. You have here a nanostructure which enables a nice purification. You only need normally just a little bit water and wipe. But with all the nice cleaning, they rub away the wonderful structures. By the way, it's a good business. Or here you're a wine country. It's a wine decanter. Not so much know that here and inside the font, there's a coating of us. It's enormous here. What it helps that really you work on the surface energy for a reduced wetting, that you have really to avoid the spilling of drops. Very simple, effective, good market. So it must not be all the time this big, what you see, this big blinking LED, whatever. No, a lot of these things are on market. Or here for a thermometer with an alcohol or similar inside. The problem of the earlier one have been that it's rounded and washed. You have not a clear information about the temperature. With a special, very simple coating inside, you get this result. It's a product on the market. Very new. We are now functionalizing fibers or also paper. So on the market, we are with the Innosol text. Just of course, people which are in this technology, they know how to treat textiles, how to make the padding, and finally drying and coating in these big machines. And finally, you end up in multifunction materials which are now have an oleophobic and a hydrophobic and a flame retardant and an antimicrobial effect at the same time. Of course, if you focus, optimize, you have to be aware that you logically will have to find a compromise for all the others. But this is the benefit, it's for the next generation of wearable electronics, wearable textiles, going in that way, or also for the paper. There's a long list what you can do. You can tune conductivity, hydrophilic, hydrophobic. You can work on the refractive index, Young's module, and so on and so on. I will not list this. You can do a lot with these materials, but you have to keep it to the available technology and the costs. You can work on the modules, on the Young's modules, so according to hardness. You can work on the shrinkage. You can make them very, very stable, even the Young's modules up to 17 gigapascals. It's important for the dentist. And of course, with all this knowledge, we could, no? Now. With all this knowledge, we could develop the dental fillers which are on the market, also in Portugal, from ceramics, also for dentsply. Foco is a cash cow for us, a lot of millions each year just from licensing. Here just it's replacement from the amalgam with such kind of ceramic type or hybrid type material. And of course, it goes further on to the coatings, to the treatment. It's a complete market just by this application. But it needs 15 years to come on the market and then step by step go further. Now, of course, we are coming on the market with this chair crown. We name it just much cheaper than any ceramics you can do. On the other hand, we can tune by soil gel processing the hybrids that way that we drive the soil gel processing in that way that we get small nano units which have roughly a unit or 2 nanometers in the diameter. And you can tune that the reactive groups here, the styrene groups, are outside. And so that you will have here, this as a resin, it's like a honey. You can apply with a liquid or also as a pure material. Then you apply, as you add a photoinitiator, then of course, or thermoinitiator, you can cross-link, then you get this inorganic, organic hybrids I have shown. You name them almost. The benefit is now tremendous for microelectronics and optical interconnection technology and photonics, because these are nanoballs. They, not like a polymer, only smoothen the nano microstructures you will have in the multilayers. No, they fill them and smoothen them. And this means you get extreme smoothened surfaces, enabling you a multi-layer technology with very high resolution, even on the polymer and or paper. And then, of course, look here, it's a cooperation with Fujitsu. There you can see the substrate materials, which we got with all the things, they have the scale of 10 micron. Then we apply our technique, our material. Then we're not playing with a 10 micron, we're playing with a 10 nanometers. This gives you an impression what you can do with such type of hybrids in combination with polymers and paper. Well, here you see a nice distribution. It's the order here of the silicium 111 as 100. It opens us the whole optical area. As optical couplers, they're on the market. In the DVD players, it's on the market. They are a scatter layer on the market, and we also even stepped in the research on the metamaterials. We have given licenses to microresist. You can buy 3 different systems on the market, or you can buy them from Nissan Chemical Industries, or I've also licensed to Asahi. And if you have a cell phone, in the screen there are 2 of our materials, and in the optics. Oh, sorry. So, following this way, you get really a tree in all these nice directions in cooperation with industry. Here you can see the merge of nanoparticle research and the matrix, so that you can get to high refractive indices, which are very important for the next generations of photonics, or for the multi or mini cameras which are now available, which are only a few hundred microns in size. Again, you have to take care, therefore we need all the time our PhDs to take care on the fundamentals. You have to take care that you really have a process for optimum on polymerization, optimum chemistry as the photoinitiators. not only now for the simple one photon process, also for the multi-photon processes. Because with this multi-photon processes, you can get 3D high resolution. In between is a combination of imprint processing and lithography, which gives us these strange shapes. These are lenses which you all use in your DVD players or the Blu-ray players. Or if you go to the multi-photon, or here 2-photon process, you can manage that it needs some photons here in the center to have enough energy to start a cross-linking reaction or polymerization in general, so you can go into the 3D wherever you like in the very high resolution. It depends mostly on the lens. It's at the moment at us 80 nanometers, and you have to be careful. You have to fight a lot with this voxel. I'm not a physicist. You have to ask the physicist what are voxels. Of course, with ATNS we go further, even for optical interconnection on the boards. And there, of course, you could see here in the movie nicely the benefits. Everyone will say, why this laser technology for very low-cost board technology? ATNS, the third largest producer of high-density electronic boards in the world. They're mostly manufactured in Taiwan and in China. But you have seen, with this technology, we first place just on the board the diode and the receiver, whatever it is. It could be laser and diode. And then, of course, we write the core, and later on, within the thermal processing of such kind of multi-layer boards, you polymerize the rest. This means you replace 17 steps by only 3 steps. And this makes it of very high interest for industry, because each step costs a lot of money. And even then, with such technique in this low-cost area, you can survive. So we make a startup, the multi-photon optics, because we have developed this technology by ourselves, and this is now fighting on the market to sell the machines, and in combination with us, with our materials, the whole process. You can go there in the high resolution to make all kinds of DEOs, whatever, or what that's behind this digital technology. We can go into the biomedical application like drug delivery, or this very nice seals, or you can make scaffolds for tissue replacement, or you can use this for artificial meat as a start. Next generation, not all the time to knead the cows. Or here in the microfluidic with this technique and our materials, or here you see the small prothesis for the inner ear of a human being. You can go on the electronics, you can go on the flexible, the high resolution, the DOL, or you can go here in the printed and flexible electronics, which you are very aware about it. This we start a long time ago, it's nearly 30 years ago with Popall. They need an encapsulation for thin film capacitor. Just only 5 microns of our materials at that time replace a lot of millimeters of encapsulation at that time. With this knowledge, we step by step go to ultra barrier foils to protect the LEDs, to protect organic solar cells against moisture and oxygen. We now can process it in roll-to-roll processing in large amount. The tricky thing here is, again, you have a film, you apply an inorganic layer by sputtering. The inorganic layer by sputtering has a lot of voids, cracks. And then, of course, when you apply the inorganic hybrid material, the inorganic organic, this means the inorganic of the hybrid will react with the inorganic oxides of the surface or inner surface in here. So it heals the inorganic, and so you have this ultra barrier effect like you have in here an inorganic layer. And with this we are now at the 10 to the minus 5. It's even enough for the OLEDs depending on the technology they use for it. And with a lot of European projects, it's a period of 15 years, I have to say. We managed to make multi-layers of them to get this really ultra barrier. It's at the moment worldwide the best barrier film, and we have a lot of licensing now with the Korean and Taiwan and also US companies. On the other hand, I still refer to it for the micro-optics. You can use this material also. For the SBU technology and electronics, this means you polymerize like with a normal printing process and get your patterning of the wires and establish then a multi-layer. Technology, for example, it was a European project in this 6th framework program. The outcome of it, the Don the MCM, have been seven systems which are now on the market. Just some glance inside. We can, of course, add barium titanate to increase the permittivity. We also can modify the polymerization technology that you now can use atmospheric plasma and patterning to get the coating, having here a plasma jet and the injection of the atmosphere for direct patterning. It's also in cooperation with ICE in Japan. Then you finally end up with totally transparent electronics. This here is still only a little bit shy because there we have used micro nanoparticles. We had microparticles of barium titanate. Now it's the nanoparticles. So it's also, this is also transparent, and this silver you can also replace nowadays by carbon nanotubes. You can make them very flexible, very important for flexible electronics and other applications. This is done with a large European project where also Intel is inside and a lot of others, the 3+, where we developed on foil and non-contact patterning technology. And so on. I will not go there further. You have nice properties. For this very simple system, you have transfer frequencies of 400 kilohertz and a nice low voltage operating at a few less than 5 volt. Finally, of course, you can use just such kind of hybrids also to protect within batteries electrode materials to go to the 5 volt aim. The problem there is that possibly you know, you have a lithium battery. Lithium battery is only working because you have a so-called solid electrochemical interface, which is passivating the electrode to avoid that the electrode is oxidizing your electrolyte or polymer electrolyte. Otherwise, without this, 50 nanometer layer, you will have the bomb instead of a lithium battery. So one have to take care, it's not so easy. So here it's a way to find an artificial, very thin SEI, which works very nice. You can apply it with us in a complete, half-automatic complete coating process where we assemble, and first we produce the electrodes and we assemble and have then the final cells. We can assemble it also putting in the roll-to-roll system by Cotema to apply it, and one result there, for example, soon going on the market is a roll-to-roll process for electrochromic systems. It's three different European projects. One is still running, where we establish the flexible electrochromic window, where University of Bordeaux was, for example, also involved. And these films, where they could go, they just used, instead of this expensive alternative glass-to-glass technology, to replace one half. So you have just a weight reduction of 60%, and you nicely can use them for this type of application in future. Of course, a lot of testing has to be done, or at the roofs and the cars, the mirrors, a lot of applications. Or finally, just looking at dielectric elastomers on silicon basis or siloxane basis, Just you have to find out in which way, according to a lot of data processing in the computer, having certain figures for where to place ceramic electrolytes, then of course you just can apply, it jumps onto directly to this movie. On a polymer foil, small parts of this polymer foil you can integrate in socks, and these are easy pressure sensors. And these are very important for diabetic persons or sportsmen or whatever, because they now easily can detect where, or really, because diabetes cannot feel where they have the problem with their feet, but all the sportsmen or the sports companies for the shoes, they can optimize the shoes. The same we can use also for a lot of other technologies for life science. This means with easy, it should not cost a lot, and it has to stand washing and so on. With this knowledge, first the fundamental, then getting applied, you really can step in very different fields of the daily life. Thanks a lot.